Hello, good evening. Welcome to Look North. On the programme tonight.
How many more children are going to get left and lost in this system? How many more parents are going to wake up and find their children the way I did?
The grieving mother, whose teenage son took his own life just days ago, says the mental health system failed her family. We'll find out what help is available and the scale of the issue of young people taking their own lives. Also tonight, is this Yorkshire's most dangerous zebra crossing? We'll meet the people fighting to make it safer. A family of premature triplets say thank you to the children's charity which cared for them during their first few months. And we catch up with TV and radio presenter Helen Skelton as she reveals more about her live shimmying on Strictly Come Dancing.
And it remains unsettled in the next few days, but change is afoot as we head through next week. Join me for the very latest.
Hello, thank you for your company. We start with a grieving mum who claims local mental health services have failed her family after her 16-year-old son took his own life. Hannah says her concerns weren't taken seriously enough. They say they're investigating. She got in touch with us to try and help other families. Now, last year, 5,219 people took their own lives in England. Of those deaths, 212 were young people aged between 10 and only 19 years old. Tragically, that number is on the rise. 10 years ago, 132 10 to 19-year-olds died from suicide. That's a rise of 61%. Around 3/4 of suicide deaths are men. In a moment, we'll hear what help is available, but first, let's hear from Hannah. Her son Finn died on Friday after she raised concerns with local community mental health services just days before. The family say they were told to keep an eye on him. Our health correspondent Jamie Coulson has this.
I don't ever think we as a family will recover from Finn. He was a huge, huge part of our lives, of our family. I'll never ever get over this.
Last Friday, Finn Hall took his own life. The 16-year-old who was trans had suffered with mental health from the age of 11. He had an eating disorder, would self-harm and had regularly ended up in hospital.
I just woke up, it's 6:21. I have school today.
Finn's family say he could superficially seem happy, but it masked a daily struggle. He'd been under the care of Child and Adolescent Mental Health Services, or CAMS, for around 2 years. In the week leading up to his death, his family say they asked for help, but didn't feel their concerns were taken seriously enough.
My daughter phoned CAMS on the Monday. CAMS phoned me back. They said that if I was really worried about him, to take him to A&E, but how do you know which time to be really worried when a child's constantly doing it? And again, my sister phoned CAMS on the Wednesday and left a voicemail, to which we had no reply.
Even though I was ending up in hospital regularly, CAMS still didn't see me. So I had no support. I was on the waiting list for over a year, with the only action being from the crisis team at the hospital.
Finn was recently asked to speak at an awards ceremony on behalf of his youth group, where he described his feelings about some of the care he'd received. The CAMS service he was registered with have said they take issues of patient safety very seriously.
I'm not angry with Finn, but I'm angry at everybody else, the injustice of it. It was just a baby. It was only 16 now. How many more children are going to get left and lost in this system? How many more parents are going to wake up and find their children the way I did?
Bradford District Care NHS Foundation Trust has offered sincere condolences, but say they are unable to comment on individual cases due to patient confidentiality. They say a thorough investigation will take place to establish the facts and identify any learning for the services involved.
I couldn't put it into words how much Finn means to us all. I don't understand how we're meant to just carry on and be a normal family without him.
Jamie Coulson, BBC Look North.
Just tragic, isn't it? Our heart goes out to Hannah and her family. Papyrus is a charity which helps prevent suicide among young people. Earlier I spoke to Jed Flynn, who's the chief executive, and I asked him if he agrees with Finn's mum that mental health services are letting down young people.
I think in terms of criticising services, that's a natural reaction in the first days and weeks after a death, and I don't know the circumstances particularly in this case, but we need to work alongside services always to improve the way in which we respond to distress, and we can learn primarily from the young person themselves. Let's hear their story better and change our ways in the way we respond to them.
In Finn's case, that's just too late. What needs to happen to stop more young people taking their own lives? Because we do know that the numbers are on the increase, aren't they?
Yeah, and sadly, one of the things that Papyrus is trying to really ask the question about is, whilst suicide rates and numbers over the decades have been coming down, one of the stubborn curves on that graph is the teenage suicide rate, which is actually modestly going up and has been for the last 12 or 13 years. I do think there's a very strong narrative which needs to be heard from people like Finn's mum to say, could we do more? Could we do differently? It's scandalous. I'm sitting here in London. I heard only yesterday from a leader of the NHS Trust almost celebrating that they've got their waiting list down to 10 months. 10 months is almost 5% of a young person's life at the age that Finn died. That's a national scandal, and Papyrus stands ready to do a lot about that and to hold the ministers, plural, feet to the fire to say this is simply not good enough.
Do we know why more young people are taking their own lives?
I can make a guess. Social media is one contributory factor, but life is really tough just now. One of the things we know from our research at Papyrus and listening every day on our Hopeline UK service, Amy, is that young people are struggling with the uncertainty that we're all experiencing around financial crisis. So we had a call a couple of weeks ago from a young person who said, I am a financial burden in my household. We know that one of the precursors to suicide is that people feel that they're burdensome. So I think the media and charities, so it's not just you, but we have to make sure that our language is safe for young people. I think the masses of contributory factors to that emotional distress, relationship breakdown, abuse, transitioning from one gender to another, that uncertainty of growing up, we need to really get better as society, as charities, to listen to young people and allow them to share their story, not the one we want them to tell, their story, and get them to help us shape services that meet their needs.
Jed, very, very quickly, what do you say to anyone who's watching who is struggling?
Right now, I want you to, don't wait. It's never too early to think about suicide intervention. If you're worried, ring Hopeline UK. That's our professionally staffed service. We're there for you every day of the year, right up till midnight from 9 in the morning. Don't wait until it's too late.
Well, that was Jed Flynn from Papyrus. Well, Finn's family have now launched a petition in his name calling for more help and awareness of young people's mental health. The address is change.org/mental health awareness in young people. And if you or someone you know has been affected by the issues raised in Jamie's report, then you can contact BBC Action Line via bbc.co.uk/action line for details of organisations which offer advice and support. Next tonight to a video which has gone viral for all the wrong reasons. Now, you'd think that drivers would know by now to stop at a zebra crossing, wouldn't you? Well, that doesn't seem to be happening as much as it should do on one street in Bradford. There is a warning here. We'll show footage of people being hit by cars from the start, but please be assured no one was seriously injured. Tom Mary has been to see what's going on.
This is the moment a woman starts to walk across a zebra crossing on Horton Grange Road. And this happens. A driver fails to stop and she narrowly avoids serious injury by a matter of inches. Here's another clip. A child runs across after one car stops, the other ploughs into him. Miraculously, he walks away. This footage is just the tip of the iceberg, says Tahir Zeb, who is recording accidents and near misses at the crossing on CCTV to send to Bradford Council. He and others say they have spent years campaigning for a pelican crossing, so traffic lights can control vehicles.
I don't want to see someone dying on my doorstep. It's not, if I've seen so many accidents happen, I've actually got to show you the videos. If someone dies, how are you going to feel?
The crossing on the busy 30-mile-an-hour limit street is at the bottom of a hill with 2 primary schools just a couple of hundred yards away. Parents and children use the crossing in a constant stream at peak times. Local shopkeeper Mohammed Halim was nearly hit on the crossing earlier this week.
As I was crossing, he just seemed to just drive off. And I was shocked. And also, if you have a look at the footage, my arms are up in the air like, oh my God, is this for real,
Those who live and work near this crossing here in Horton Grange assured me that if I hung around for long enough, I'd witness a near miss for myself. And sure enough, while I was doing some research here yesterday, this is what I caught on my phone. A woman hidden by stationary traffic was nearly hit by a car coming down the hill in the opposite direction. Mr Zeb's CCTV has recorded other accidents and near misses on the crossing. His nephew posted this video of a cyclist on social media. It's been watched 1.6 million times.
If you've had so many accidents in one spot, then the question has to be asked of why hasn't this been picked up?
In a statement, Bradford Council said, "We understand the local concerns about this crossing and we will carry out an immediate inspection." But for those who live on Horton Grange Road, they say if these safety measures aren't brought in immediately, lives will remain at risk. Tom Airy, BBC Look North.
Gosh, shocking footage that, isn't it? You're watching Thursday's Look North, still to come on tonight's programme. Reinventing Rotherham, the BBC Yorkshire Young Reporter for 2022 tells us about her hopes for her hometown. But before that, you may already be aware thousands of Royal Mail workers have begun strikes that have affected deliveries today and will impact Black Friday tomorrow. It's after talks between Royal Mail and the Communication Workers Union ended without agreement. And more postal strikes are being planned next month. Louise Fewster has been to meet a couple of small business owners in North Yorkshire as they gear up for the busiest time of the year.
Student Alice from York relies on Royal Mail to get her cakes out to her customers. She's concerned, though, that this latest move by the Postal Service will hit her business in the long run.
It's definitely going to be tricky for me to get orders if people can't get things delivered at the right time. A lot of people might want to send cookies or biscuits to a loved one for Christmas gifts if they can't see them at Christmas, if they're too far away or whatever. I've got different options. Either I have to put my prices up massively and say to someone, you're going to have to pay £7, £8 or whatever for delivery. My other option is to not do it, which obviously then I lose out on the profits as well for that.
The strike coincides with the Black Friday weekend and will have a big impact on businesses at what is a very busy time of year. Claire at Chalner Walker runs soap company Cosy Cottage in Moulton.
Because our things are small and relatively low value, we rely enormously on Royal Mail to send our items out to our customers. When we're having to constantly answer customers' calls, customers' emails to say why an item hasn't arrived, and we're not really able to give a great explanation as to why, it makes it very difficult. Relationships are so important to us in small businesses. We have sympathy, but actually this is making it really difficult for us.
The long-running dispute revolves around pay, jobs and conditions. Royal Mail says it had made its best and final offer and accused the Communication Workers Union of holding Christmas to ransom. But the CWU said the offer would spell the end of Royal Mail as we know it.
Well, basically, I want them to sit down and be serious with the negotiations with our team. That's all we're asking. Sit down, be sensible about it, give us a pay rise at the very least in line with inflation, and to negotiate properly on the changes.
Well, Royal Mail have been urging people to send letters and make deliveries ahead of the strike date. In a statement to the BBC, Royal Mail say that they apologise to customers, saying that they have well-developed contingency plans to ensure their customers are looked after and minimise any delays to keep people, businesses and the county connected. More strikes by postal workers are also being planned for next month, which includes Christmas Eve. Louise Fewster, BBC Look North.
There's more strike action at multiple universities in our region, have resulted in lecturers, students and higher education staff taking to the picket lines today. In what was described as the biggest university strike action ever, people in Leeds, Bradford, Sheffield, York and Huddersfield were amounted to 70,000 taking part. It's a dispute over pay, working conditions and pensions. A 21-year-old has been found guilty of murdering a man in a Sheffield pub last December. 26-year-old Macaulay Byrne died on Boxing Day after he was stabbed at the Gypsy Queen pub in Bayton. 21-year-old Bovik Mupolo from Coventry was seen with a knife by witnesses, and then CCTV footage showed a fight outside the pub. A jury found him guilty of murder. He'll be sentenced tomorrow. Growing up somewhere where you feel proud to call home is really important, isn't it? But that's not always the case for some young people. The BBC Yorkshire Young Reporter for 2022 is one of them, and she lives in Rotherham. But things are changing, which might just make the difference between her staying in the town or not. Kiara herself can explain.
Growing up in Rotherham was never something that I have been proud of. Its reputation is one which many people may feel ashamed about. So I want to find out what's being done to fight this stigma and see if we can turn this town into a place which its residents can be proud of. In the media, my town has become known for perhaps the wrong reasons. But what do people really think about Rotherham?
Not very good at the moment, but hopefully this regeneration that they're doing is going to bring it back to how it used to be.
I think that in a lot of ways does not deserve its bad reputation.
No, I don't think there's anything to do in town. I think that's why you end up with groups of youth hanging around the interchange and things.
Years ago, along with the help from other children like me, we came up with the idea to make Rotherham the children's capital of culture in 2025. But I know what you're thinking. What does this actually mean?
In the year 2025, Rotherham will become the world's first children's capital of culture. And that means that in 2025 there's going to be a 365-day festival of arts, creativity and community, all of it designed and delivered by children and young people from Rotherham.
Like many others, I wanted to know how this will directly impact those living here and how we'll benefit.
The town's going to have some really exciting things going on in the next 5 to 10 years. It'll put Rotherham on the map in a more positive way so that you can talk about Rotherham with pride.
I always knew that as soon as I turned 18, I was going to leave Rotherham. However, now I'm excited to see that something is being done to inspire other young people, like me, to stay at home. Kira, BBC Look North.
Let's hope we hear more of Kira in the coming weeks. Now, a couple from Selby who had triplets at Leeds General Infirmary have thanks to charity that helped them cope. Lucy Bilby and Rob Taylor spent 63 nights at a home from home while their babies were in intensive care. It meant they could be by their bedsides whenever they were needed, and they had a place to recover when times were really tough. Kathy Killick has this.
9 months old and thriving after months of crisis, 3 little sisters are visiting the team that helped their brand new family back in the spring.
Hello! Oh, lovely. Oh, hello.
The babies were born 3 months premature with multiple health problems.
Come through, come through.
As their parents, Lucy and Rob, live in Selby, they were given a place to stay here at Eckersley House, just 2 minutes from Leeds General Infirmary and run by the Sick Children's Trust.
As a mum, I didn't want to leave the babies, and I needed to be in Leeds, and the staff were just amazing. And yeah, it's just, you don't realise places like this exist until you're actually, unfortunately, in the position where you do have sick children. So yeah, massive thank you to them, really.
The babies were called A, B and C by the doctors when first born. They needed intensive care for weeks, and one very nearly didn't make it. But now meet Adeline, Beatrix and Clementine.
The girls are doing so much better. They're chatting away now. They're getting the characteristics. They're slowly progressing. They are still probably a little bit behind, obviously, babies similar age, but they've come such a long way.
So, Adeline, it's for you.
The Sick Children's Trust is 40 years old this year and has helped 73,000 families at their 10 homes in the UK. It costs the charity £40 per family per night, so funds are always needed.
As we show them round, you can see the families relaxing. They sometimes get emotional because they realise how lovely it is and how homely it is. They can come in, they can make a meal, they can sit with the siblings that they've got, and the husbands, wives can sit together, whereas on the ward, you're not able to do that. But everything on the ward is for the child's health, obviously. Here, we're here to make the families feel as comfortable as possible.
Rob and Lucy are so grateful for all the care they and their babies received. As they settle into a life unimaginably changed, their hearts are full, as well as their hands. Cathy Killick, BBC Look North, Leeds.
They make it look as easy as ABC, don't they? Absolutely scrumptious, those little babies. Now, she's been the intrepid adventurer on Blue Peter. She presents Countryfile and loves all things outdoors. And she's got Mucky on Channel 5's On the Farm series, filmed at Cannon Hall in Barnsley. We're, of course, talking about Helen Skelton. She also lived in Yorkshire for some time. But now she's swapped the barnyard for the ballroom in Strictly. And along with her partner Gorka, she's a favourite to win. Let's take a look at them in action.
It was a delay! 10!
Oh, Helen, Gorka, you look like you are having the best time. Helen, what is the Strictly experience like?
I keep comparing it to Disneyland. It's very much big, bright, colourful, fun, and every element is like that. You know, the costumes are big, the makeup, the hair, everything is full on, but in the best possible way.
Now, you're best known for romping around Yorkshire farms in Llewellys. Why did you want to do this?
Just because it was totally different. And, you know, I think it's good to put yourself out of your comfort zone. And I think Strictly is the kind of show that it's difficult to say no to because it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
It's similar also, you know, there's a lot of wild things to do here.
True. There's a lot of you never know what's going to happen. So, yeah, it's good. It's good to take on a challenge and do something different. And also, it's just fun.
I know you're a girl who likes to challenge. Gorka, what is Helen like to teach? Is she a good student?
I was going to make a joke when you say challenge. No, she's actually not a challenge. She's completely opposite. It's a joy. Obviously, some dances are better than the others, but that's like everybody, you know. I have my favorite dances, so she has also her favorite, or the ones that she might pick up quicker. But so far, it's been a joy. She's very happy all the time and very hard worker. She commits to it and she wants to do well. So, yeah, it's the best student.
It's a really big commitment, this, isn't it, Helen? You got your hands full, you got a job, you've got 3 young children. How do you manage to juggle it all?
What are you talking about? I come here for a rest. 3 children. I mean, you know, cha-cha-cha and a samba is definitely a challenge. But, I mean, as I say, you never know how long it's going to last. It's week by week. So when the opportunity came up, I just thought, why not? It's a good chance to do something fun.
Well, you say I don't know how long it's going to last. It looks like you're tipped to be one of the favourites to win. Gorka, I know you've not lifted that glitter ball before, have you? How much do you want it?
Well, you know, it will say a lie if I say I don't want it. But most important is between us, we have 4 children, which it will be very sad if they don't get a glitter trophy for Christmas. So please, everybody, help us to make that possible.
You're pulling on our heartstrings, Gorka. Helen, Yorkshire's rooting for you. Rob Burrows rooting for you. He told me that he tunes in every week and gives you a good cheer.
Oh, what a man, what a legend. You know what? If we've got his backing, that's worth a glitter ball. So thank you, Rob.
Thanks, both of you. Best of luck.
Thank you. Take care.
Oh, I do love Strictly on a Saturday. It's like my dream to be on that. It's like your nightmare, isn't it, Paul?
Absolutely. I can't think of anything worse. I don't even enjoy dancing in a room on my own.
I was going to say, I think I've only got you on the dance floor once, and you'd had a lot of gin and tonics.
Yes, it's the only way to get me on the dance floor.
Talking of gin and tonics, actually, someone sent me an email last night from a bar in Munich, and look, North was on.
Really?
What are the chances of that?
Did you not know you were big in Munich?
Well, I do now. We've gone global.
There's not a lot on television in Munich, that's for sure.
I think it was the football, actually.
Was it?
I think it was a big screen showing the football, but I don't know why Yorkshire was on.
No. Did you get caught in that score line this afternoon? It was It was very heavy, wasn't it? And when it cleared, we had some spectacular rainbows. This is the first one that was sent in. There were loads, but that was a beauty in Knaresborough. The second picture is a cracker up there in Blubberhouses up in North Yorkshire. So keep the pictures coming in, Twitter, Instagram and on the Weather Watcher website. Lots happening at the moment. We stay unsettled in the next few days, but it looks like a real change coming next week. At last, things are going to settle down, become drier and potentially a bit colder as well. That's as we head through next week. But in the short term, it's a mixture of sunny spells. Just a few showers to come in the morning, mainly in the west, but lots of sunshine to come. This feature perhaps coming in later on Saturday, some patchy outbreaks of rain late on Saturday, especially in the west. It turns wet on Saturday night, and then Sunday it looks dry with some sunshine. There's that squall line, brought some very strong winds and a couple of hours of torrential rain behind it. A bit of a gap, but we've already got showers piling into the Pennines. So I think this evening and overnight will be windy, with clear spells and scattered showers. Some of those showers will be quite heavy, tending to become more isolated and lighter later in the night. Certainly many eastern areas becoming dry, and we'll see temperatures around 4 or 5 degrees. So tomorrow's high water times in Scarborough at 4:29, Bridlington at 4:48. So a few showers across the Pennines first thing in the morning, but as you can see, they become isolated and light. Most of us, I think, tomorrow will be dry and bright with some long spells of sunshine. So that's good news. A fresh and gusty west to southwest wind. We're looking at top afternoon temperatures around 11 Celsius. That is 52 degrees Fahrenheit. So looking a little bit further ahead onto Saturday, it's a dry, bright start with some sunshine. It will cloud over. The hint of a little rain developing in western areas later, and that means Saturday night turns wet. Sunday, perhaps a wet start. It soon becomes dry and bright with some sunshine. But there's that trend next week. High pressure beginning to dominate. It means a lot of dry weather, quite cloudy at times, and temperatures just drifting down, so feeling a little cold by the middle of next week. That's the forecast.
We've worked together 9 years now. I've never heard you say score line so many times.
Feels like 90 years.
Thank you for that. Is that because we feel like family? Is
That's
that why?
right.
Yeah,
Move on.
thought so. That's it from us. Phil's here with the late news. Bye-bye. Early bath.
Yeah, no.